Okay, hello there everybody and welcome along to World GT 2015. It's the final round and we've had technical gremlins, so many of them, and it means that we are literally on the race start here to end World GT. It's going to be radio only, unfortunately, for the majority of the broadcast. Risto Capit on pole for Walk Racing. Boya Milan alongside him on his debut in World GT for ST Racing. It's going to be an exciting race. We've got 2, 3, 4 and 5 lights. And here for the final time in World GT, we are go. And it's a great start from Risto Capit, Boya Milan, bogs down. Thomas Jacobs, who has to win today in order to secure the championship. Starting P3, stays P3 going into turn 1. If he wins, that means that Luis Felipe Capamadijan has to finish P13 in order to actually secure the championship for himself. There's lots of contact, though, through turn 2. And after a difficult corner for Felipe Capamadijan, he was right down in below P20 even. He's back up to P18, where he qualified. I see a smile power, so that'd be Matt Richards without a front bumper. A couple of people in strife as well, as we are heading now down to the hairpin of the Circuit of the Americas. That is where we are at today. If you don't know what it looks like, grab yourself a map on Google Images. It's a beautiful circuit, a very flowing circuit as well. You really need to fine-tune and tweak your setup to the maximum to be able to extract most time. Risto Capit, though, he's looked very good. Started on pole position, pulling away from P2 currently. 1.1 seconds the gap between himself and the grey and green Corvette behind him of Boya Milan. Thomas Jacobs starting P3, though, looking for a move into the left-hander, following the long back straight. Unable to do anything. To give you updates on where everyone else is, we've got Marius Nicolay, P4 up from P5. Matthew Cherwin up from P8 to P5. Sherwin van der Sloot, good start for him. From P9 up to P6. Tajid Federman, not so good a start for the red Ferrari 458 of the Amaroli Racing team. From P4 down to P7. Agustin Canapino, though, he has had an absolute flyer. I think he was P20 or something in the orange and grey Ferrari 458 Adonis Engineering car. He's up to P8 already, but his racecraft and race consistency has been woeful this year. And as for our championship leader, he is now up to P16, slicing his way through the field already after a difficult first corner. But at the end of lap 1, it is Risto Capit who leads from Boya Milan, Jacobs, Marius Nicolay, Matthew Cherwin, Sherwin van der Sloot, Tajid Fedima, Agustin Canapino, Shane Burke without a front bumper, though, and Paul Watkins rounding out the top 10, who is, in fact, under pressure from Lewis McGlade as we head into turn 1. Lewis McGlade, who was 16th on the grid, now up to P10, and that's Bart de Vos round at turn 1. Just lost it all on his own, and that has allowed Luis Felipe Capamadijan up into P14, and he's got to get past Philip Morby now, who is going into the left-hander of Sector 1, a tricky, flowing section in which you need your wings and your turning to be at their absolute maximum. Felipe Capamadijan, though, in order to know for sure that he will secure the championship, he needs to finish 13th or higher, and he is very, very nearly there already, hounding the back of Philip Morby as we head down to the hairpin for the second time of asking. I really need a track map as well. That would be very useful. But heading into the hairpin, Luis Felipe Capamadijan, he looks up the inside, and he has got the move done as well. So the Peruvian looking very good and on course for his first championship win here at GPVWC. That said, Philip Morby, he's not going to give up just yet. So he started P10, so he's lost a few positions now after the early laps already. He breaks later than Capamadijan and around the outside of the Peruvian. That's a great defensive effort from Philip Morby. I'm sure Kappa, as he's known to his friends, all will instantly respond back up the inside of the right-hander following that left-hander, and he is through now into P13. I expect we will look to see him pull away in due time. Just going to pull up my PS Vita now. This is going to be very useful. Use it for my track map. Up front, Risto Capit, though, he's just completing lap 2 now, and he is 2.2 seconds clear of Boya Milan behind. It's truly been a revelation in this series, Risto Capit. Not to say that he's unexpected, well, not that he's expected to be up here. He's a great driver, as we know from his exploits in the World Sports Series, but you never know how people transition up to R Factor 2. You never know how people transition into different series, of course. But Risto Capit really taking to the World GT like a duck to water. And you just got to hope that he doesn't repeat a mistake which he made in the Atlantic Series 2 weeks ago on Tuesday now, where he ran out of fuel near the end. And fuel is, of course, an issue around here. Some people will be stopping. Some people will not be. And it's so critical in this series where you have to get your estimations right every single time. Otherwise, mistakes can be very, very costly, especially near the end of the race. So, thankfully, in these early stages, no retirements so far, but the people who really look to be struggling include Boyd Bryson, who qualified P6 down to P16, Nico Barclay, who was caught out from our technical gremlins, which hit the server in qualifying. He did not get to set a lap. And unlike his teammates, he has been unable to carve through the early dramas. He's down in P17, of course. Bart DeVos had a spin up at turn 1, and David Junt's currently P19. His engine seemingly smoking from what I'm seeing. And Paul Joseph down to P20. Excuse me, after qualifying decently up in P14. Luis Felipe Capamadijan now up to P12, by the way. He's gotten his way past Brett Metcalf, who qualified in the top 10 alongside his teammate Tajid Federmer. It seems that the two of them are moving backwards, though, as I noticed further down the field, Barclay's actually just got past Boyd Bryson now, and it looks like the South African's really struggling because Bart DeVos is right on the back of him as well. So those lots hoping to at least try and make up more positions, maybe through strategy. I'm sure that's what Boyan Milan, who's currently in second place, is going to be hoping, though. 2.6 seconds off the lead. He lost a big chunk in that first lap, but since then he's just been falling away. And what of Thomas Jacobs, as well as Capamadijan, is now through on Paul Watkins as well. So the Peruvian Championship leader on a real mission here, almost into the top 10 now. Next up the road for him will be Lewis McGlade in 10th, who is a further 3 seconds up the road. But given how strong Kappa has been throughout the year, you'd expect him to be on the tail of the Englishman in the next few laps for sure. But yeah, Risto Capit pulling away mightily and is not looking too good for Thomas Jacobs from a championship viewpoint. The only man who can overhaul Capamadijan. And he's on the podium. He's in P3 and he's about 5 seconds ahead of Matthew Churgwin for TSA Racing in 4th. But it's looking up ahead where the worries start to creep in, losing time hand over fist to Risto Capit in these early stages. So looking back down for further battles, there's a decent battle going on here for P6. Agustin Canapino, who made a great start to the race from outside of the top 20. He is now through on P6. He's overtaken Tajid Federmer and Sherwin van der Sloot on this lap alone. And the Argentine is now up to P6, which would represent by far and away his best result of the year. And I tell you what, Marius Nicolai, who is a fellow Ferrari 458. And actually, to be fair, there is a big chunk of 458s here, right down from Nicolai in P5 all the way down to Shane Burke in P9. But Canapino doing the best of the 458s, you'd imagine, in terms of actual racing. He's pulling away from Van der Sloot at a real rate of knots. And with Marius Nicolai is actually Matthew Churgwin. So Canapino, if he keeps on this sort of pace, could be looking for almost a podium if he is lucky, of course. We've got an hour of racing still to go. And I think this year has proven more than anything that mistakes are very, very easy to happen if you lose your concentration, of course. And we certainly hope for Canapino's sake that he does not make a mistake, because he's made a couple too many this year, which have cost him good results. Now, there's been a bit of movement further down the field, actually, and it includes David Junt, who is now pitted for Aces PB, so Paul Joseph has fallen behind. It also includes, this massive battle here for P13 and P14. Matt Richards in P13, really holding up the field behind him without a front bumper, and Brett Metcalf has put his lights on. He is undoubtedly very unhappy. He was starting in the top 10, all the way down in P14, and he has lost his rear diffuser, which is not too good for traction out of corners, which around this circuit especially is pretty critical, and he's under heavy pressure from Nico Barclay now, who brakes a lot later, looks to go around the outside of the hairpin, which is turn 11, as I've now got my track map up. Unable to do anything, though, as further up the road, Tjeerd Fedema is through on Sherwin van der Sloot down at turn 12. So van der Sloot, after a very good start, is now starting to fall back through the field. His teammate Shane Burke looking to potentially capitalise on van der Sloot's slow pace. That said, Burke does not have a front bumper, though, so could suffer through the tighter corners of this track. Meanwhile, going back to Barclay, and, well, Metcalf has really fallen behind now. Barclay up to P14, Bart de Vos now into P15, and Brett Metcalf down to P16. He's going to have Boyd Bryson and Philip Morby on his back. It's up in P5. Well, I was saying that Canapino was going to be looking for perhaps a bit more through the pit stop strategies. Wrong. He has been flying this past lap, and he's already on the back of Marius Nicolay for P5, and Matthew Chergwin there is not too far away either, and Nicolay looking to go a little defensive into turn 1 here. Out they go now with Augustin Canapino right on the back. Tjeerd Fedema not too far away either, so don't count him out of any sort of revival. To be fair, don't expect anyone up front to be reviving their chances of taking the lead either. Capit now 3.3 ahead of Boya Milan, 8.1 ahead of Thomas Jacobs. You would imagine that it's going to have to take bad luck on both Capit and Milan's path for Jacobs to even have a sniff of winning this race. But the battle we are interested in now is this battle for P4. Chergwin in the Arthur Melin, as the mod names it, against Nicolay and Canapino. Of course, Chergwin's car is actually an Aston Martin DBS, if you're interested in the real-life vehicles. Nicolay and Canapino in Ferrari 458s, along with Tjeerd Fedema, who, if Canapino, Nicolay and Chergwin battle as long as they are, and as long as they can, then Fedema might actually have a sniff at this battle as well, as Nicolay goes down the inside of Matthew Chergwin, and he's looking at Chergwin around the outside. I've noticed that he's actually not got a rear diffuser, Chergwin, so could be something with traction, and he's forced there Nicolay to go wide, and Canapino, took the advantage, and he's forced Nicolay off track there. Very poor move from Canapino, but a little bit of a tap there from Nicolay, and he is back through. So one fist for another, almost going side by side through turn 17 and turn 18, known as the anti-turn 8 to many racing fans. Now this is allowing Chergwin to pull away, and it's allowing Fedema to close at a rate of knots now as well. And remember, this is where Canapino has failed so far this year. His racecraft has not been up to scratch. Simple as. And if he wants to get past the German Nicolay, then he is going to have to make a clean pass rather than forcing the Walk Racing driver off circuit in his distinctive white, black, red, and gold car. Canapino, though, up the inside of turn 1. I think Nicolay potentially let him have that one. So Canapino now up to P5. Next on the roads for him will be Matthew Chergwin, who is not looking pacey. I think Nicolay's perhaps going to have to keep maybe one eye behind him, because Fedema, the Dutchman, is really starting to catch this lot as well. After a dispensing of Van der Sloot, who has incidentally fallen behind his teammate Shane Burke now without a front bumper, I remind you. So Van der Sloot's pace not looking too good, and well, he's going to have to step on it now, because Luis Felipe Capamadijan, he is dispensed of Lewis McGlade. He's up into P10, and he's closing on the Simtech Jota boys very rapidly indeed. In fact, Shane Burke holding up Van der Sloot through the difficult Sector 1 for his car, and Van der Sloot back through, in fact. Capamadijan now right with these guys. I would imagine an overtake will be coming imminently from the Peruvian, who is now 26 seconds off the lead, but 16 seconds off his championship rival, Thomas Jacobs. Further up, though, Canapino has got past Matthew Chergwin, and that was into turn 12, and that was a nice clean move again. It looks like Chergwin really suffering on the brakes into that heavy stopping zone without the rear diffuser, and I imagine Nicolay might be looking to get past soon as well. But Canapino then up into P4. 9 seconds behind Jacobs. Is it out of the question for Canapino to get a podium at this late stage of the season? I wouldn't say so for sure. Back to Capamadijan. He is past Shane Burke, and it seems that Burke's tyres are really starting to struggle now. It looks like Luis McGlade in 11th is pushing the Irishman around turns 17 and 18 here. I'll tell you what, it's typical. As soon as I think my cold's gone for a commentary, it rears its ugly head again. So apologies if I have to stop myself just to clear my throat. But yeah, McGlade looking on the back of Burke for P10 now, and Van der Sloot seems to have picked up the pace a little bit now. Is it all little too late? Because Felipe Capamadijan is very near him, and a little bit of a slip there out to turn 1 for Sherwin Van der Sloot as McGlade gets past Shane Burke into turn 1. It didn't seem to have affected that little slip Van der Sloot too much, though. But I tell you what, Capamadijan's closing speed through this left-right of turns 3, 4, 5, and 6 is astonishing. It really is. I hope that a highlights package can show it off, because he is flying through that sector. Closed a couple of tenths on Van der Sloot for sure. And I'll tell you what, another thing which I've noticed is how aggressive Capamadijan is over the curbing. Now, there's been a lot of calls to say that the Corvette C6 in this build of the mod, which has not been updated all throughout the year, is a little bit overpowered, and the Ferrari as well, a little bit too strong, which if, of course, we keep with the URD mod for next year, should be rectified with the 1.97 update. But, of course, the Corvette is generally considered to be the best car all around. It's best on fuel, it handles well, tyres don't burn up in the blink of an eye. And unfortunately, as we say that, we've had our first retirement in the form of Bart de Vos in the Fox Racing BMW. Let's have a look. It was just a simple disconnection there for Bart de Vos, and he falls down to P18. And I noticed that Matt Richards there is up into P11. So I imagine something must have happened between Shane Burke and Luis McGlade. Indeed, let's have a look here. He's right on the back of them, isn't he? How bizarre. They must have just caught... He just cruised up to the back of them and then used his lack of a front bumper to get past the two of them on the straight. And contact there between McGlade and Burke on the final corner there. McGlade comes off best. He's in P11. I think Burke went a little off track, rejoined a little haphazardly. And he's got his lights on now, Burke, and I don't really see why, to be honest. McGlade did nothing wrong there. Either way, Burke back in P13 now. McGlade down to P11 with Richards up to P10. And in between McGlade and Burke is Nico Barclay, who after a first 8 couple of laps, which have not been what you would have hoped for, he is on the cusp of the top 10 once again, as Bart de Vos has rejoined the race, thankfully. So if he keeps on going, still could score points if he is lucky. Only 20 drivers with us today. Of course, probably our lowest attendance of the year, which is a shame, of course. But unfortunately, such is the case with R Factor 2 and certain teams that they'll drop off throughout the year. That is the point of the new rule which has been brought in this year, that basically looks at teams at the end of the year and says, well, look, if you haven't attended a quarter of the events, then if you apply for next year, that position is going to be reviewed and under a lot of scrutiny. Back into the top 10, however. Luis Felipe Capamadijan continues his roll on through the field. He's now past Sherwin Van der Sloot and up into P8. Things look bleaker and bleaker for Thomas Jacobs. And further up the road, there is a move going on between Tajid Fedema and Matthew Jurgen. This is in the arena section into turns 15 and 16. The two now going around turns 17 and 18. And that was a really nice move from the Dutchman Fedema on the blue and black Aston Martin of Matthew Churquin, Fedema in the Amaroli red Ferrari 458 going around the outside of turn 17 after sticking up the inside of turn 16. The Dutchman now into P6 and Churquin without a rear diffuser, I remind you, down to P7. So things not going too well for the Englishman as we are just about to hit the 20-minute mark, a third of the way through this race. Usually we expect pitters to arrive at the halfway mark or later, but that is not going to be the case for Shane Burke, who hits from P13. I imagine that he is going to be surely receiving a new front bumper. I'll try and get a decent shot. So I think we'll have to see him once he gets out of the pits, unfortunately. But he's lost position now to Philip Morby, also without a front bumper, incidentally. Paul Watkins as well, up into P14. And Paul Joseph, who was bang last at the early stages of the race, is now into P15. They're under heavy pressure from Brett Metcalf, the other Amaroli Racing Team car, with no rear diffuser, incidentally, as well. And Boyd Bryson, who's on the back of that in P17 after such a good qualifying. Shane Burke then out of the pits and without a front bumper, interestingly. So it must have been a planned spot either way, or his tyres have taken a flat spot, or yeah, I can't ever tell with these drivers, unfortunately. He's back out into P18, though. The only people behind him, David Junt in P19 and Barton DeVos, who I think has decided to call it a day fully. He did rejoin, but he has called it quits once again. So then, coming around the final corner then, and heading onto lap 11, which is now a third of the way through this race. We're expecting about 32, 33 laps here today, is Risto Capit, the Estonian. Looking very strong and looking very confident to take his second win of the year, out of 2 races as well, incidentally, which beggars belief. He is 7.8 seconds ahead of Boya Milan in those 11 laps, so almost a second per lap faster than the Spaniard behind him. We then have Thomas Jacobs a further 7 seconds behind in P3, and the gap we are looking at with particular interest is how, whether it's getting smaller, whether it's getting bigger, to Agustin Canapino in P4. The Argentine 6 seconds behind Jacobs, which I'm pretty sure is a lot smaller than what it was a couple of laps ago. We'll keep that 6 seconds in mind as the race continues. Marius Nicolai now 4 seconds behind Canapino in P5, with Tajid Fedema P6. Matthew Churgwin not necessarily losing touch with Fedema, but doesn't look like he's going to threaten the position anytime soon either. We then have Capamadijan P8, and P9 has switched now. Matt Richards, despite no front bumper, up into that P9 with Sherwin van der Sloot falling down to P10. We then have Barclay up to P11. He's gotten past Lewis McGlade since we last joined him. And then McGlade himself is P12, Morby P13, Watkins P14, and Boyd Bryson is now entering battle with Brett Metcalf around the outside of turn 2 and into turn 3. He's got the position. A great move from the South African, in which is it's had to be a recovery drive for him so far, and there was a very dangerous position there as Brett Metcalf almost blindsided Bryson into turn 3. Very awkward angle for the 2 South Africans as they went into combat, and Brett Metcalf, in not conceding the position earlier, now leaves himself open to the Scotsman behind, Paul Joseph, for the mighty 4th Racing Team in their beautifully liveried blue, white, and black BMW Z4. Boyd Bryson starting to pull away, though. So even if Joseph does get Metcalf, whether he will score a point through pure racing alone, doesn't look like it's too good, unfortunately. So then, we have plenty of people out on the track still. 19 out of the 20 who started. Unfortunately, not too many of them are close together. I would say the closest gap probably is Matt Richards to Van der Sloot, but that said, Van der Sloot is losing time. But thank you, Nico Barclay. He has given us something to talk about. He pits then from P11, which is particularly early, actually, for Scuderia Basilia. In fact, most times Scuderia Basilia don't pit at all, so I'd imagine that's potentially a suspension issue for the Peruvian. Lewis McGlade there goes through into P11 with Philip Morby moving through to P12. I imagine that Paul Watkins will inherit P13 as well. The question is, can Barclay get out ahead of Boyd Bryson and his entourage behind? The answer is no. Bryson goes through to 14th. Metcalf through to 15th as well. Barclay leaves his box now, and he comes out behind Paul Joseph. So back out into P17, and that is 3 cuts excuse me, ingestion. That is 3 cars, which Barclay is now going to have to get past if he's going to look at any sort of points. Mind you, I think it's pretty safe to say that most of the field will pit at some point during this race. So maybe Barclay calling the right strategy, pitting early so that he can get into the groove and work his way through the order. But definitely not the race he would have liked to have ended on, Barclay. And a good 40 seconds behind his teammate as well, which doesn't look good on the record. Mind you, on the outlap alone, Brett Metcalf's had an off. And he's just making a move now on Paul Joseph into the hairpin of turn 11. And that was very easy indeed for the Peruvian. So in one sector alone, following his outlap, he is back into the points already. A mistake from Metcalf and Joseph just being too slow. He is missing a rear diffuser, to be fair to good old Mr. Joseph. But Barclay taking advantage of the two stricken drivers in two very different senses of the word, of course. And the Peruvian back up into P15. I imagine the only way is up from here. Let's take a little drink. These are long races. All right, then. So, with Barclay pitting, I do wonder whether that will initiate a response from anyone else. It looks like nobody is playing ball just yet. But generally, looking back on World GT, the 2015 season as a whole, it's very much reflected the 2013 season, where the later you leave it to pit, the better off you are, because it means less pitting time, because you're putting in less fuel. Of course, if you don't have to pit for tyres, then that's more time saved. And that really has been the factor of this year, which has enabled the Corvette drivers to have a real advantage over everyone else in the field. At certain races, they simply have not needed to pit. It's been close. That much is given. But they've got a larger fuel tank, the Corvettes. And if you keep the tyres well, if you keep to a certain lap time delta, then you are cruising on home to an almost certain top 10. And in the case of Scuderia Basilia, has been a podium even. So we've got to wonder, when will the others start pitting? It is usually at the halfway mark, which we are approaching very rapidly indeed. 3 minutes away exactly from that halfway point. Yes, I'm just looking back now to that gap between Canapino and Jacobs. And I tell you what, it has closed as well. Speak of the devil, Thomas Jacobs pits at almost the halfway point. So Canapino then will move up into P3. Nicolay goes through to P4. Fedema will go through to P5. Chergwin will go through to P6. But how long will he keep that P6? Because Luis Felipe Capamadijan is now right on the back of the Englishman. And I tell you what, Matt Richards as well, who moves up into P8, he's been catching the two of them. So after a little lull, we might have a very interesting prospect on our hands. As, yeah, you can see Matthew Chergwin really struggling for traction out of turn 1. We're on lap 14, by the way. Thomas Jacobs, out of the pit lane. And he tried to get the advantage on Sherwin van der Sloot, who he came out the pit lane neck on neck by. And, or neck and neck by. There we are. Into turn 1, he went for the direct route. Didn't work for him, so Sherwin van der Sloot held on to that P9. I've had another pitter in the form of Philip Morby, who will fall out of the points for certain. We've got a nice battle going on through now, though, as Nico Barclay has just moved through on Boyd Bryson for P13. Remember, Barclay has already pitted during this race, so we imagine he is going to the end as Thomas Jacobs into the hairpin he goes. Of turn 11, he is through on Van der Sloot eventually, but I think he would have hated to have lost time to him in the first hairpin of turn 1. And actually, Van der Sloot right in the slipstream of the Englishman now. The Dutchman, will he pull out? Will he try to make a late move into turn 12? He looks out, but nothing doing. And Thomas Jacobs maintains that P9 then. Capit hasn't blinked. Milan hasn't blinked as they head on to lap 15 respectively. Canapino also doesn't blink. He continues on in P3. And with Thomas Jacobs, yeah, you'd imagine that with people starting to pull the trigger, others would follow. Nicolay also doesn't pit. We look back to Federer now, who also doesn't pit. And what about Chergwin and Capamadijan? Well, Capamadijan, both of them don't pit, but he makes a move into the final corner. Side by side they go, and that is a very nice move indeed from Capamadijan. It was late, but it was safe as well. Through turn 20, Capamadijan up to P6. Can Matthew Chergwin at all respond into turn 1 as we're into lap 15? No, he cannot. That said, though, Capamadijan does go a little bit wide through turn 1, able to cover off the line, and I think Chergwin now has to watch out for Matt Richards behind him in P8, who is catching still at a rate of knots. That's to both Capamadijan and Chergwin. And you can see, actually, it's bizarre. Despite the front bumper missing, Matt Richards just has so much confidence through this first fast-flowing section. As immediately onto the back of Chergwin. And I tell you what, from this series, it's been pretty notable. The loss of a rear diffuser is much worse than the loss of a front bumper. As the front bumper, yes, you get more understeer, but you also get a better top speed without that aerodynamic part on the front, whereas the diffuser just hurts you all around. Out of corners, not enough traction, you lose speed. And I will look to Matt Richards now to see whether he can make a move into turn 12. He's not particularly close this time around, but it seems to me that it is, funnily enough, in the tighter sections where he gains time, but we'll wait and see on that anyway, as Nico Barclay has made his way past Paul Watkins now. So Barclay up to P12, looking better and better for Barclay as the laps roll on. Capit round again, Milan round again, Canapino round again. And what about Marius Nicolay? Now 30 seconds off the lead. Nicolay will go around again as well. And Tajid Fedema in P5. He suffered a little bit of a graphical lag there. And that certainly won't help him, as Luis Felipe Capamadijan has been absolutely launched from being held behind Chergwin. And he is catching Federer now at a rate of knots. And, well, the charge is over for Matt Richards, it seems. He is into the pits just over the halfway mark. And he pits from P8, which will allow Thomas Jacobs back through into P8. Then the Sloop will go through to P9. McGlade will go through to P10. The question is, can Richards come out ahead of Nico Barclay, who is currently rounding the second to last corner, turn 19 now. And he now rounds the final corner, Barclay. We look to Richards, who's at the very end of the pit lane. So once he is going, he'll be out pretty sharpishly. And there's been a mistake from Marius Nicolay there. Marius Nicolay has lost 2 positions to both Fedema and Capamadijan. And it was through the fast-flowing sector 1 here. He spun it, and it was turn 5. Just lost his rear end completely. And funnily enough, he's actually gotten back past Luis Felipe Capamadijan almost instantly. And what happened there? Because Capamadijan was clean through. Oh, it was a late dive from Nicolay. And that's almost allowed Matthew Chergwin through now as well. Suddenly a spark point here, and Chergwin's ahead on the straight. Opportunistic driving at its best, surely. Capamadijan breaks early, though. And he sort of slides Chergwin out to the edge of the track. But a decent recovery from Nicolay, despite the spin. But Fedema there through to P4, most definitely. As for the Richards pits, he didn't get out ahead of Barclay. Neither did he get out ahead of Watkins or Bryson. He's out into P14, and he has also chosen not to replace the body part, which is missing on his car. So the front 3 have all gone through once again as more and more people start to pit. Fedema through as well. And despite that massive moment in Sector 1, Nicolay continues on. Capamadijan behind him, along with Chergwin, Jacobs in P8 has pitted, remember. So he is definitely going to the end from here. Showing Van der Sloot P9, McGlade P10, and Nico Barclay, who was also pitted. We imagine he's going to the end. He's stuck now in P11. I'm pretty sure, though, being 10 seconds away from his nearest rival, Lewis McGlade, that he will need another person to pit ahead of him to gain any more places in this race. Watkins 12th, Bryson 13th, though for how long is pretty indeterminable, as Matt Richards, back on the prowl, back on the charge, is closing him down very sharply indeed. And then Brett Metcalf is rounding out our final points score. He is 6 seconds ahead of Shane Burke in 16th. Paul Joseph in pretty close pursuit as well. We've only had one retirement from this race, however, and that was Bart de Vos on lap 8. We are on lap 17 now, of course, with 25 minutes left of the final round. And, well, Marius Nicolai, I was expecting him to pit after his little spin, but he is not done, and he might live to regret that now, as Luis Felipe Capamadijan is causing him all sorts of trouble into turn 12, following the long back straight. Nicolai holds on to that position for now, but I imagine that the German will probably be looking pit very soon, unless he can, of course, go all the way, in which case I'm pretty sure he will not want to pit at any stage in the next few laps. We're currently heading through the arena section as Churgwin behind Capamadijan goes a little wide, so the pressure off Capamadijan for now. Interestingly enough, both Nicolai and Capamadijan are closing in on Federer ahead in 4th, as the front three have all gone round again. Onto lap 18, Federer also choosing to go round. Nicolai and Capamadijan also choosing to go round. Very interesting that these people are not pitting, especially given that given that Jacobs is now starting to catch Churgwin and this train as well. And he has had a pit stop already. So Jacobs putting in a good shift here on what will be or what could be his final race for Downforce. We're not too sure where they've disappeared to in ITC, but if they do return next year, being an excellent addition to the field, in my opinion, with their distinctive white, green, and black livery on the Aston Martin. I did think I saw a little change. Yes, I did, and that is Matt Richards, who has got past Boyd Bryson down to P13, almost on the back of Paul Watkins at this stage as well. Closing very sharpishly indeed, so Matt Richards should have P12. In fact, by turn 1, he is onto the home straight, tucking up into the slipstream of Paul Watkins, who is remaining on the right-hand side of the road. Matt Richards pulls to the inside, brakes later into turn 1, and that position was sealed before they even hit the apex. The Welshman up into P12, Paul Watkins, an Englishman, down to P13 in his mighty 4th BMW. Now, back up to Risto Capit. He goes round again. His lead to Boya Milan is 15.7 seconds. A truly extraordinary effort from the Estonian. You can only imagine what he's going to do next year if he does return. Boya Milan himself, though, is a good 8 seconds ahead of Canapino. He is also going round again in the Corvette C6. Agustin Canapino in the orange and dark grey Adonis Ferrari 458. He also goes round again, and then it's all the way back by a good 17 seconds to Tajid Federer, still holding on to P4 thanks to the battle behind him between Marius Nicolai and Luis Felipe Capamadijan. Federer not pitting, neither is Nicolai, neither is Capamadijan, neither is Churgwin. Probably going to leave it as late as possible, these guys. I think they might be waiting on Jacobs to catch up, actually, because Jacobs is now only 2 seconds behind Churgwin. That's got a whole lot of cold up in my nose. Oh, dearie me. It is the problem with colds. Just when you think they're all past you, bang, straight back at you. It's just so annoying. Can't do commentary properly. Oh, well, we will carry on then. So, to go over the top 15 for you, and the timing gaps, you've got Capit, 16 seconds ahead of Milan, who himself is 7 seconds ahead of Canapino. And actually, I will stop that now because there's been a move that has happened. And it happened in Sector 1. Lewis McGlade through on Sherwin van der Sloot in P9. And that was a mistake from van der Sloot through Sector 1. He went wide through turn 2. A bizarre incident. I think he must have got caught on the outside curb or something. And McGlade then through into P9 nice and easily. Van der Sloot down to P10 would still be a nice position to round off the year for the Dutchman. Really nice position for McGlade as well, who from all the things which have been which we've been hearing from Aurora Motorsports, at least they will not be returning next year. It's debatable whether McGlade himself is going to return next year as well, looking more unlikely than not. But he's had a decent championship, Luis McGlade, been consistently in and around the top 10. And even if he doesn't like the cars, it certainly looked like the championship has been kind to him. So I'm sure a P9 to end the year, even if it is a P10, a top 10 would be a nice achievement to round it off. His teammate Reese Gardner, one of the unlucky ones with the connection issues, not being able to rejoin today. And so it's just the one Aurora, maybe saving Reese from another terribly unlucky retirement, which he seems to have picked up a couple of them throughout the year. Some his own fault, some totally not his fault at all. But you imagine that Gardner would have had a as good, if not a better campaign than McGlade had he had luck on his side this time around. So then, to P4 we go once again, and Nicolay has got his running boots on. All over the back of Fedema as we head into the Sector 1 right-hander, left-hander, and Nicolay again making the almost fatal mistake of trying to put his nose in where it didn't belong. Could have caused an incident between himself and Fedema there. But we're heading through turns 8 and 9 now, just about ready to head into the turn 11 hairpin for the 20th time of asking. Under 20 minutes left of this race, just a third left if you prefer your fractions. And into the turn 11 hairpin we go. Steve Fedema not feeling the need to go too defensive just yet, but he's starting to cause a train now. Behind Nicolay, you got Capamadijan just holding back a little bit, but then Churgwin behind is under all sorts of pressure from Thomas Jacobs. Now that said, we'll look up to P4. Nicolay on the inside of Fedema. Into turn 12 we go, and it should be signed, sealed, and delivered. Indeed it is. So Marius Nicolay reclaims that P4 after his own mistake through Sector 1 just a few laps ago. A nice move there from the German, and Fedema now has Luis Felipe Capamadijan all over the back of him as well in the arena section. Capamadijan dives up the inside, though. That's a bold place to go. Turn 16, but he's got it done as well. Fedema choosing that caution is the better part of valor. And Capamadijan then through into P5, considering that he started P18. I think he would be very happy with that indeed. Fedema down to P6, and he's now got to keep an eye on the people behind because Churgwin's P7, and in fact, Fedema pits. Fedema chooses this time to pit, and that might be a good call. Out of the battles, might find some clean air, and he could come out ahead of the guys which he was battling with. The battle's still raging on in this top 7, though, as Thomas Jacobs is now looking to get through on Matthew Churgwin. These two have been at it all year, it seems. You always find the two of them together in the two different liveried Aston Martins of TSA Racing and Downforce iZone Racing. Thomas Jacobs, of course, in terms of the championship, come off a lot better this year. Churgwin holding on very valiantly, despite the lack of a rear diffuser. You'd imagine it would only be a matter of time, though, before Jacobs is through on his English compatriot. Bad news for Fedema, though. He's been overtaken by Matt Richards, who is through into P11. Things looking very good for Richards, actually. If all of the guys from that P4 down to P8 battle, which would have included Fedema, if all of them have to pit, then Richards could find himself in P4. Because that is a sizable gap he's got on Fedema out of the pits, who's out into P12, by the way, well ahead of Boyd Bryson. So got some nice clean air to work into Fedema, but just what he's going to be able to do from there, I think the proof will be in the pudding when others do pit. Risto Capit, by the way, still going round onto lap 22 he goes without pitting. Boya Milan, does he follow suit? Yes, he does. No pitting for him. But I tell you what, Agustin Canapino, he has found pace again, and quite incredible pace as well. Within 2 seconds of Boya now. So Canapino could very well be on for P2 here if he's lucky. would be a very nice result. Adonis Engineering, one of those teams which unfortunately has missed a lot of the season through driver absentee. So even if they do apply for next year, it seems pretty doubtful that they would get in. But still, I'm sure that they would like a podium, maybe even a second place to round off what has been a very troubling year for the Dutch outfit. Nicolai Capamadijan go around in P4 and P5. And here goes Jacobs now around the outside of turn 1. Can he do it? He breaks a little earlier than Churgwin, tries to get the undercut, but Churgwin with some excellent defensive work there, parks it on the apex, doesn't allow Jacobs much room, and he's safe for another sector, I would imagine, as we head through turns 3, 4, and now 5, and then we're right again into turn 6. As Skype has stopped working for me. Thank you very much, Skype. We're going to go back to the racing there. How long can Churgwin hold on for? That is the big question. Because I thought he wasn't going to hold on for much longer with Jacobs directly behind him. Yet, still, he is there, or I think my computer might have frozen. Apologies if my screen is frozen there. Right, there we go. We're back in business. Yeah, but it's amazing how long Churgwin has actually been able to hold on for now. Jacobs all over the back of him, and just coming into turn 12 now after the long straight. Here we go. Oh, Jacobs with a massive dive bomb down the inside. Churgwin just carries on in P6 there, saying, thank you very much. I'll let you brake later. I'll let you outbrake yourself, and I'll take that position back. Thank you very much. As further down, more position changing between Lewis McGlade and Sherwin van der Sloot. Of course, McGlade got past van der Sloot after the Dutchman made a mistake through sector 1 as well on the exit of turn 2. And there are all sorts of pressure now from the Dutchman McGlade. And Nico Barclay in P10 not too far behind as well. So Barclay, who is in the top 10, so we already know he's going to get a top 10 by the end of this race, could be looking for a bit more though. What was seeming like a pretty dire race for the Peruvian could be turning into actually quite a nice, successful one. And well, on to the battle for P2 now. Milan versus Canapino. The Argentine all over the back of the Spaniard. And that Ferrari 458 looks like he's going to get the job done very soon indeed. By the way, Jacobs was past Matthew Churgwin into turn 1 around the outside, but Churgwin around the outside of turn 2, able to hold on yet again, infuriating Jacobs. No doubt, as we go back to Milan and Canapino. They've just gone through the turn 11 hairpin and onto the back straight. Does Canapino have the top speed and the wings to enable him to get past Milan? Early signs, not really. And I think his traction out of that corner might not have been as top as he would have wanted it, Augustin. And yeah, indeed, no threat to Milan as we head into turn 12 and the arena section. Behind, Jacobs still trying to get past Churgwin, and they're still failing in doing so as well. 9 and 10 is a position that might be changing though, as Sherwin van der Sloot has found himself unable to attack McGlade because Barclay is now down the inside at turn 11 himself, and Barclay is through on Sherwin van der Sloot. We'll see whether the Dutchman can respond. Jacobs, though, oh, contact between himself and Churgwin. Let's have a look. That was at the end of the back straight, and Jacobs, he broke far too late again. He made the corner, just about went wide, and oh, there's been further contact between himself and Churgwin. There's contact as Jacobs rejoined with Churgwin, and then let's have a look here through turn 13. Oh, the two of them just got side-by-side contact between the two, and I'm not really sure what Churgwin could have done there. He was right on the outside. He was trying to turn in, and Jacobs just kept on moving out and out and out. Didn't give Churgwin enough room, and, well, I do fear that was Jacobs' fault over Churgwin's, unfortunately. So Churgwin remains in P6, and what has been a stoic defensive race from the TSA Racing driver is looking better and better by the minute. And talking of minutes, we only have, well, it's ticked over to 10 minutes 50 on my watch. We'll call that 10 minutes to go, shall we? And of course, once that time limit is up, then we have the last lap, whatever the rest of the lap that is, and then we are done here. So it's actually going to be nowhere near 32 laps, actually. Back up to P2 and P3, though. Boyer Milan, Agustin Canapino. Milan proving as stubborn a hurdle to Canapino as Churgwin was to Thomas Jacobs. And still holding on. It's down that back straight where most people will find joy in overtaking into turn 12. But it seems that Canapino has gone for a very downforce-centric setup. And it means he is strong around the sector which they're currently going through, which is the arena section, but unable to do anything down that straight, which is where most people would find overtaking to be at its easiest. Excuse me. Of course, the question is, do any of the top three make that any of the top six still have to pit? Do they have to pit for fuel? Do they have to pit for tyres? We shall wait and see as there's been a further position change. And Nico Barclay there has gotten past both Sherwin van der Sloot now and Lewis McGlade at that as well. So Barclay through into P8. He is now 11 seconds off Thomas Jacobs ahead, though. So just how many more positions the Peruvian can make up? It seems unlikely that he will make any more, but there is still a chance, of course. There still could be pitters amongst us. There still could be mistakes that could happen, as we are now within the final 10 minutes of World GT 2015. A shame it had to end on a radio broadcast, but it has been an exciting race nonetheless. I certainly hope that the many of you who have struggled through and had to listen to me for this entire thing will stay with us until the end. 4 interviews from the drivers. Currently, Luis Felipe Capamadijan, he is going to need an extraordinary scenario for him not to win the championship. Outscoring Thomas Jacobs again. All he needed to do was finish P13 today to secure the championship. He's in P5. That is pretty comprehensive. If you ask me, Thomas Jacobs, he needed to win today. And after that mistake in combat with Matthew Churgwin, languishing down in P7. Once again, it seems to be the people who have mastered the no-stop who are benefiting the most. Risto Capit with a 25-second lead now. He has been on fire at Silverstone. He's been on fire at Dakota here as well. And he will be on for his second win in a row out of 2 rounds as well. I think most people will be hoping that if we are using the URD Endurance GT mod for next year, that the updated form will mean that Capit is not as fast as he was. Everyone down to Philip Morby in P16, currently unlapped. I doubt that will remain the case as Morby is being closed in on at quite a rate by Nick Lane. Actually, it's quite a lovely battle here. For the final points, Watkins, Metcalf, and Morby all within a second, battling away for 14th, 15th, and 16th. It seems that one of these men will be feeling pain at the end of tonight. And I think one would have to say that Morby's looking probably the favourite for this. As he looks to the inside of Brett Metcalf now to the outside, can't do anything though. He looks to the outside of the turn 11 hairpin, can't do anything still. And you wonder how Capit is going to influence this battle, of course. As blue flag rules do apply in World GT, remember. Boyer Milan, still P2. Agustin Canapino must be fuming in his Ferrari. He's been unable to do anything. He closes up so much through Sector 1 and then nothing. Absolutely nothing. But this time, he is right behind Milan. But yet again, Milan, if anything, is pulling away on the straight. It is the wings which have hurt Canapino this race. They've done him great joy in the early stages. But when it matters most, for a P2, he has failed to produce. And Milan, again, effortlessly defending his position. Into the arena section we go now. I'm going to stay with these two just to see. And yeah, Canapino right on the back of him. Once again, he dives though. He dives to the P15. He can't, turn 15, sorry. He can't do it again though. Otherwise, he'd just be taking out Milan. And at this stage, where both drivers have worked so hard to earn a podium, you'd imagine that they don't want to be throwing it away at this stage, of course. But time is running out for Canapino. 5.5 minutes left on the clock to do something. I don't think that we're going to be seeing any more pitters now. So congratulations to the top 6 who were able to perform the no-stop strategy. P4 and P5 still quite close, of course. Marius Nicolai just holding off Luis Felipe Capamadijan there. Churgwin, who was all on his own, now has Thomas Jacobs back on his rear. Round 2. How will this one go? We will keep you up to date with that. Barclay P8. And he's pulled away quite astonishingly from Lewis McGlade. 5 seconds to gap, of course. Remember, Barclay has pitted, so fresher tyres on that Corvette. So McGlade P9, Van der Sloot P10, Richards P11 with Federer P12, Bryson P13 as Philip Morby, who is now up into P14. He made advantage of Capit lapping the lots of them. He is P14 now with Watkins 15th, Brett Metcalf in 16th. Remember, the only one retirement today, Bart DeVos, unfortunately. It was been an end to a hapless campaign for half of it and a pretty decent campaign for the other half for Fox Racing. A shame to see them end the year on a sour note. But looking back then to 3 main battles we have, looks like Capamadijan is potentially eyeing up a move on Marius Nicolai into the turn 11 hairpin here on lap 27. 4 minutes left. 2 or 3 more laps to go. And a lock up from Nicolai into the hairpin allowed Capamadijan a look. He tucks back into the slipstream and now looking to the outside. Nicolai goes ultra defensive as we head down the back straight. Capamadijan will have to brake a little later into turn 12 if he's to have any luck in overtaking the German. Nicolai, though, he locks up again. He goes deep, but he keeps the position just about. A stoic defense from the German. And I think that has been the story of this race. Has been a race of great defensive driving. But Capamadijan, he's through on the outside of turn 15, still unable to do anything, pushing Nicolai around turn 16 there. The move is surely coming soon. Back to Jacobs and Churgwin. Churgwin just about holding on through the arena as well. Jacobs almost pushing Churgwin through turn 16. If there is to be a change of position, it is to be between P2, P3. Oh no! Contact between Capamadijan and Nicolai. Contact between Capamadijan and Nicolai. And let's see what happened there. It was into turn 19. And actually, no, it was Nicolai all on his own. And he has spun for the second time this race. This time it wasn't as bad. But Capamadijan putting all the pressure on the German. It has paid off for him. He's up into P4 and Nicolai down to P5 then. All of his own accord. Behind, oh, up ahead now. Canapino, has he finally found a way through? Boya Milan, they're heading into the turn 11 hairpin. And Canapino is ahead, but can he keep it? Boya Milan has had the much better wings all race long. And he's closing on the Argentine. Canapino goes ultra defensive. Boya Milan, he's tucking up. He goes further to the inside. He's going to try and squeeze his way through Milan. He brakes much later. He misses the corner. And Canapino is through. And that was great work from Capamadijan to pressure Nicolai into a mistake. And it was great work from Canapino to stick at it. He has got his reward. He is up into P2. And, well, talking of moves, it's all happened in the slap as Jacobs is through on Matthew Churgwin at last as well. It seems like it happened potentially into turn 1. I'll just get that for you. Yes, indeed it was. He broke a bit too late there, Churgwin. Had to take the long way around. Jacobs with the better tyres, got the better line. And he is through into P6 then. So I'm just looking at where Capit is now. And just looking at my timer, I reckon this might very well be the last lap. Thank you to Joshua Anderson for pointing that out it. So, Capit then. Unless something goes horribly wrong, he is on for his second win of the season. I tell you what, he's getting involved in an interesting scrap here. Boyd Bryson, who was in P13, now under all sorts of pressure. He's been lapped. He's under all sorts of pressure from Philip Morby now. The two of them scrapping away very nicely for the final points. Canapino pulling away from Milan very nicely, as is Capamadijan from Nicolay, as is Jacobs from Churgwin as well. I think this is game, set, and match then for the race. It has been a wild, wild ride here in the wild south of the USA. And indeed, it's been a wonderful year as Morby and Bryson are going to battle. And Morby's got that P13 there from Boyd Bryson. They've only got a couple more corners to go. Time is up, says my phone. And Bryson only has a couple of corners to try and take back P13. I don't think it's going to happen. But welcome back, World GT. It's been a great year. We hope to see it improve as we head into 2016, no matter what mods we get, no matter what teams are back. I'm pretty sure the Walk Racing, though, are going to be back, and potentially with the same driver lineup as well. Nicolay has been unlucky in certain parts this year, awesome in others. And Risto Capit, who comes in as their new second driver, he has been absolutely phenomenal in the two races he has been with them. He takes his second win of the year. A wonderful effort. He ends up 23 seconds ahead of Agustin Canapino, who by far and away has had his best result of the year. It may not be enough to save Adonis Engineering from the drop next year, but it has certainly put him on the driver market as maybe one to look out for with potential in the future. Boya Milan, on his debut in World GT, heads home to give ST Racing their first podium of the year. I'm sure Mark Fuller will be very happy with that. And coming home in P4 is our new Drivers' Champion, Luis Felipe Capamadijan. He's had to wait a long time to secure it, but secure it he has. Even if he didn't take part today, he would have made it. Well done, Luis. Well deserved. And as for behind, well, there's been a massive bit of drama here as Nicolay, who was set to take P5, has now not. And Thomas Jacobs takes P5. Nicolay with his lights on comes home P6. Churgwin P7. Barclay P8. Lewis McGlade will come in P9. Matt Richards has forced his way into the top 10. Past Sherwin van der Sloot, who's run out of fuel. Oh, Sherwin. Oh, dearie me. So Tajid Fennemer gains a position from that as well. He's into P11. Van der Sloot will be P12. Morby 13th. Bryson 14th. Watkins 15th. But let us go back and have a little look at why Nicolay had his lights on there. Let's have a look here. It looks like Jacobs was past him already by the time they got there. Let's have a look. So, yeah, Jacobs was very close to him on the final lap. And then, oh, it was just a mistake of Nicolay on his own. Into the arena section of turn 13. He drifted wide, allowed Jacobs through. And then he had to go final corner. Oh, no, that was a bit silly, Nicolay. Oh, yeah. Just about made it, the two of them through the corner. But yeah, that was fair from Jacobs, who takes P5, a deserved P2 in the championship. But well done to Capamadijan, though. He is the star of the moment, along with Risto Capit, our new drivers' champion. And well deserved. And Sherwin van der Sloot, despite not actually finishing the race, he does take P12 because he did complete over 75% of the race distance. So once again, a massive apologies for this being a radio broadcast. Technical gremlins happen. Shame it's for the final, but I hope that all of you who did manage to stick with us enjoyed the radio commentary. I'm hoping that someone will put together a highlights package as well. And that's it from World GT then. It's been a wild ride, and we will now talk with the race winner from today, Risto Capit. So, Risto, your second race win in 2 races of being in World GT. Effortless. 23 seconds ahead of the next man. Surely you're looking to come back next year and challenge for the title yourself now.
Yeah, it was great. I'm really getting the hang of the R Factor 2 and this mod. we are also doing the Virtual Endurance Championship with Fox. So although I did not do many laps for this combo, then it was going well. So quite happy. And about next year, I will talk about that in the end of Super Cup maybe. So don't talk anything about next year about me.
Well, on the Super Cup issue, I don't think you're suited to Super Cup anymore. I think a lot of people would love to see you in Super League with Walk Racing potentially moving up as well, of course. But well, take us through your race. No stop, pulling away every single lap of the race. Did everything just click into place today? Because it seemed like you're on a completely different planet to everyone else.
Yeah, well, it was 2 times smaller gap than the last race, but yeah, it was good. It was always very accurate. I had the fuel very accurately done, and the tires almost hang on as well. I had quite a balanced setup, so not anything really. This Air Factor 2 tire model, although I admit the newer version of this URD mod is much better, but even with this the way you need to hold the tires and hold the temperatures, it's so addicting, and you're always doing something, always managing something, and it really keeps you focused. And then I find it really enjoyable to push. 1 hour doesn't seem that long time for me, and it's just so enjoyable to drive. And if you're always aware, then you can get some good laps like this. But it was still not perfect. If I did it again, I could do it 10 seconds faster. So, but yeah, it was nice. I always like to keep the pace up when I'm in the lead. So it was very good. I'm very grateful for Mr. C to let me finish this championship. I wish the Atlantic had gone as well as this as well, but the Atlantic Indy cars were a bit too hard to set up. But these GT cars, I really like.
User was
really
moved to your channel.
I think certainly an improvement on the last walk driver in that seat, Risto, especially with the 2 wins. And well done on finishing the championship in such a glorious manner. I'm sure that you'll be taking that race win to good heart if you do join us next season. On to then probably our final interview of the day. Not many people choosing to join us, no Kappa either. But we can talk to his main rival, Thomas Jacobs. It just didn't go your way today, Thomas. It seemed there was, of course, the contact, which the mistake against Chuggy midway through the race. You had to pit where others did not. But still, you could be very happy with P2, I presume.
Yeah, I mean, going into this round, I knew that I pretty much had to win to stand any chance of beating Capamadijan in the standings, and I needed Kappa to finish. I think it was 14th or lower. So the chances of that happening are very slim. So getting closer to the day, I just thought, let's have a bit of fun, to try and enjoy it. But I was always intended to one stop. I just want to kind of prove that the one stop did work. And, I think I finished second in the championship, so that kind of proves that the one stop strategy can do it. It's just unfortunate that some cars seem to suit zero stopping better than others. But I enjoyed the race. I always planned on stopping on lap 13, which I did. I'd done race stints to kind of get used to that and how the balance of the car felt afterwards. But coming out the pits is just to drive up, and I'm surprised that people still had pace. And then, of course, as you said, the battle with Churgwin, that held me up quite a bit. And then towards the end, I just kind of had enough with people just trying to or holding me up. So I made a move past Marius and just tried to hold on to it. And I think we've also Downforce also got second in the constructors, if I'm correct.
Yeah, I'd imagine he was second in the teams for sure, because you definitely outscored the other people behind you in terms of closing distance anyway. And actually, to be fair, I do want to question you on the sort of driver and team aspirations for next year. I made it pretty clear throughout the broadcast that we don't know what mod we're going to be using next year. It seems more likely to be the URD mod, the latest version as well, with the possibility of whenever a new sort of update comes out, we'll be updating throughout the year so that it's fair for everyone and new people joining in on the championship. What are you looking to do? Is Downforce looking to retain you? Are Downforce even looking to enter next year? Are you looking to pastures new, perhaps? Are you even going to join us next year? I'm just interested in on everything 2016 in the sights of you and your team.
I can answer all those questions with just I don't know. I don't know.
You don't know. Okay, lovely.
There's no team has approached me. I don't know if Downforce are going to carry on into next season, and I don't know if if next season is going to entice me, if you know what I mean.
Yeah.
I'm kind of getting more and more into endurance racing. And it seems that this World GT, the 1 hour races, it just isn't sort of endurance-y enough, if you know what I mean.
Yeah.
I'll definitely take a look at next year, and I will say that having Boyd Bryson as a teammate is absolutely fantastic. I've enjoyed working alongside him and driving alongside him and all that through the highs and the lows. But I kind of want him to have my teammate next year if it starts to progress, proceed into like me joining another team. But apart from that, I don't know what will happen next season.
So from what we get from that, World GT, 2 endurance light for you, and if it is you, then you want Boyd. So well, we'll wait and see then. As you say, you don't know. We don't know either. It's all up in the air, but I certainly hope to see you next year, Tom, because you've been an excellent addition to the championship once again this year. And congratulations on your well-deserved P2 with the Teams Championship and indeed
Thank you very
the
much.
drivers as well. Well-deserved. And, well, he came a little bit late, but we do have our new drivers champion here today, Luis Felipe Capamadijan, known better as Kappa to just his friends. That was a very difficult race for you, it seemed, starting P18. But ultimately P4 by the end of it, and championship to take home as well.
Yes, hi James. Let me start saying that my English is not that good.
That's all right.
But yes, when we start the race, we had no for feedback. We couldn't enter the server to qualify, and we started 18.
Yeah, of course, it was a very difficult situation for you, I'd imagine, but those opening laps were incredible. You just seemed to pass guys with such ease.
When I start the race, I only think that I need 4 points.
Yeah.
So that will be a 12th position if Thomas Jacobs won the race. And well, we started the race with too much careful. In turn 1, I go through 19. And I say, no, this is not my place. And I start passing, and thank God, nothing happened.
Yeah, indeed. But of course, as the race went on, it just seemed to all fall into place for you, which of course led to you more than securing your drivers' championship with the 4th place in the end. On to next year, though. Are you looking to stay with Scuderia Basilia? Are you even looking to return to retain your driver's title, and what are your thoughts on if the mod upgrades to the latest version for next year? Do you feel that you still have that pace advantage over the rest of the field to mount a decent defensive challenge?
Well, I would want to race it, of course, but of the new version, well, it's the car is faster, it's more flexible, and it's more enjoyable to drive. So we will see what happens, and I don't know. I have to talk to David June. Now I'm more expensive.
I can imagine that for sure. I wouldn't be surprised if you've already received team offers already from plenty of the field. But it's good to hear that you want to be back, and it's good to hear that we would at least be excited about the new mod. So congratulations on your driver's title. Well deserved. Can take a lovely break from sim racing for now, I guess, unless of course you are interested in joining us along with hopefully you lot from home in the next bits of racing. We don't have that much left of the confirmed calendar, but we do have the career ladder still to finish. We're heading to the Circuit of the Americas once again with Open Series next Tuesday, along with Formula Challenge, Super Cup on the Wednesday, and the American Grand Prix on the Thursday. And then it's going to be a very, very quiet week indeed on the independent side of things in 2 weeks' time. In 2 weeks' time, as we only have the finale of the International Touring Cup from America at Portland International Raceway. The Drivers and Teams Championship have been wrapped up there as well. So it's all going to be for a bit of fun, worth watching anyways. Hopefully Simon Smith will be returning to the comms booth along with Mr. Joshua Anderson, who's done a fantastic job in making sure that the broadcast, even though it be in radio form, does happen today It's much appreciated. That said, do keep an eye on the GPVWC forums, because there might be some things being announced soon. Or maybe I don't know that. We'll keep that between you and me, I think. So I would like to thank once again Joshua Anderson for setting up the broadcast and everything. Absolute legend for getting the radio broadcast out there. And to any being out there who fancies doing a highlights package with this commentary, you're more than welcome to use any of this commentary for your own purposes. Would love to see a highlights package, of course. That's it for World GT 2015 then. We certainly hope to see you next year. Keep on with GPVWC though. There is plenty more to come this year. From all of us here then, for the last time this year, it is a very warm goodbye.